I'm Jovan Johnson with the IMF Tracker. This week, BOJ projects continued economic growth and UWI lecturer dismisses calls for separate growth agenda. These stories in a moment, but first, our question of the week. What is a turkey? Stay tuned, the answer comes up at the end of the program. The Bank of Jamaica is projecting that economic growth will continue at a 1.4% pace for the quarter ending March. Central Bank Governor Brian Winter says the projection is predicated on stronger growth in the global economy and increased investor confidence resulting from the implementation of policies under the IMF. He says increased economic activity is expected to be largely reflected in the performance of sectors such as agriculture, forestry and fishing, and mining and quarrying. University lecturer Dr. Damien King has rubbished calls for the government to introduce a separate growth agenda while it pursues fiscal reforms under the program with the IMF. The head of the Mona campus of the University of West Indies Economics Department said the calls are at best missing the main point of the problem and at worst may tempt the finance minister to become distracted. He said the calls could also tempt expenditure that undermines the critical part of the adjustment program. Dr. King was addressing a public forum on the IMF program organized by his department and the finance minister recently. And UWI professor Brian Meeks says unless Jamaica experiences dramatic economic growth, relentlessness evident among trade unions may translate into action. He also notes that the opposition Jamaica Labour Party will be and is already trumpeting failure. Professor Meeks says the response to avoid such a scenario must lie at the level of political leadership and new strategies of involvement, participation and compromise that could preempt such an outcome. He argues that the stance of the parliamentary opposition is vital, saying agreement between the government and the opposition political party on strategic medium-term objectives was critical to successful programs. And to end our program, the answer to this week's question. The question again, what is a turkey? Now, turkey is a slang for an investment that yields disappointing results or turns out worse than expected. And that's where we end our trek this week on the IMF Tracker. I'm Jovan Johnson.